And now, moving on with the program, we are going to welcome the Executive Director of SAGE, Michael Adams.
Hello, hello. Thank you, thank you. Wow, it is fantastic to see so many of you here tonight to celebrate the mission of SAGE to improve the quality of life of LGBT older people and to honor extraordinary leaders. We are here tonight joined many different generations who have come together for something that is both simple and bold. And that's our determination to carve out a place of respect and support and dignity for every single LGBT elder in this country. And we will not stop until we've done that. Part of tonight, we'll be honoring one of our great corporate leaders, Pfizer, who has launched a truly extraordinary social marketing campaign called Get Old that features beautiful images of LGBT older people. And the Get Old campaign reminds all of us at SAGE that as LGBT people, we've had to fight for the right to get old. We've had to fight AIDS, bigotry, violence, discrimination, neglect. But fighting for the right to get old is only worth it if we can get old with dignity and if we can be embraced for the valuable people we are all through our lives. And as we know, too often that's not the case for older members of the LGBT community. Too often LGBT elders age alone and without friends. Too often they are denied the services that they need and are entitled to. Too often they are discriminated against in benefits and in care. They do not begin to have what they need. We will not begin to have what we need as we age, except for the work that we are doing together. That's why SAGE exists. SAGE exists to change that. That's why we're all here tonight. And I'm proud to report that we are making tremendous progress. You've heard about the SAGE Center. You've seen the video about the SAGE Center. The fact that we have established the country's very first LGBT senior center right here in New York City is extraordinary. Extraordinary. And it's equally extraordinary that in the center's first 6 months, we have more than 900 LGBT older people participating in the first 6 months of its existence. Then we have our SageWorks program, which is supporting, as you heard, LGBT older people who need to continue working in order to make a living. We also, last May, we partnered with President Obama's administration to present the very first White House conference on LGBT aging. That's huge. That's huge. That conference took place, that historic convening took place in Miami, and it really brought awareness of LGBT aging issues through the roof. And just last month, in the U.S. Senate, was introduced a new piece of legislation called the LGBT Elder Americans Act of 2012. And when that legislation passes, and it will, it's going to change the entire landscape of funding in this country for LGBT older people. This is the kind of work that we're accomplishing and so much more. And I want to say, these kinds of things don't just happen by themselves. They happen because of the tireless work of many people, including many people who are in this room. Among them are the SAGE staff, SAGE's board of directors, and our former members of our board who've laid the foundation for this work. They're amazing people. I want to ask them to stand up and ask you to applaud them and thank them and recognize their activity. The great thing, though, is you don't need to be a member of the SAGE staff or on the SAGE board to do wonderful things for LGBT older people. Tonight, we are honoring extraordinary individuals, Judith Turkel, Lillian Barrios Paoli, who've done amazing, amazing things. Each of us can play our part. I also could not leave this stage if I did not recognize another luminary who was in this room. I first met Edie Windsor in 2006. In 2006, when Edie was on the search committee for SAGE that hired me as executive director. Give it up for Edie Windsor. And we're convinced that Edie is going to take our issue of marriage equality to the Supreme Court and win it for us once for all. Thank you, Edie. We are making great progress, but there is so much more work to be done. The work of the SAGE Center over the next year must spread to every borough in New York City so that LGBT elders, no matter where they live, can get the services they need. SageWorks, our program for LGBT older workers, which currently exists in 6 cities in this country, needs to exist all across this country. Caregivers for LGBT older people need to get the support that they need from SAGE's National Resource Center on LGBT aging. And the LGBT Elder Americans Act of 2012 must be passed into law, and we will work tirelessly until that happens. This is the work that we must do together. Every person who is in this room is here because you care about LGBT older people. All of us, hopefully, will someday be LGBT older people or their friends and their allies and their family members. So we must join together. We must continue to join together. So I'm going to ask you, before you leave this hall tonight, to do 3 things, 3 additional things above everything else you've already done for SAGE's work. First, think of at least 2 people who are not in this room tonight but should be, and tell them about SAGE, tell them about our work, and help them get engaged. Second, think of at least 1 elder in your life and what you could do, what more you could do to help them, to support them, to be enriched by them, whether they are an LGBT elder, whether they are your parent, whether they are somebody else whom you know. And third, please do everything you can financially to support SAGE's work on behalf of LGBT older people. When we take those steps, when each and every one of us takes those steps, we will support our LGBT elders, we will take care of our own, we will support SAGE's work, and we will ensure that as we age, SAGE and our community will be here for us. Thank you very, very much.